My housekeeper pinned me down at dawn. What she said changed everything. Jack Carter wasn't the kind of man who startled easily. Years of living on the edge of the galaxy, fixing broken machinery on a creaky space station called Orion 7, had hardened him. He'd seen solar flares melt steel, patched leaks during asteroid storms, and once wrestled a faulty reactor core back online with nothing but a wrench and sheer stubbornness. So when his eyes fluttered open one morning to a weight pressing down on his chest, he didn't panic. Not at first. The dim glow of his quarters filtered through the station's recycled air, casting shadows on the metal walls. His bunk creaked under the unfamiliar pressure, blinking sleep from his eyes. Jack registered something, or someone, sprawled across him. A figure with shimmering silver skin, 4 slender arms, and a head crowned with twitching, antenna-like tendrils stared back at him. Her eyes, wide and golden, locked onto his with a mix of surprise and calm. "What the?" Jack rasped, his voice hoarse from sleep. He tried to sit up, but the figure shifted, pinning him down with surprising strength for her delicate frame. "Please, remain still, Jack Carter," she said in a voice that hummed like a soft engine, smooth and melodic. "I am nearly finished." Finished with what? Jack's heart thudded as he processed the situation. This wasn't a dream. This was real. And this was Kalia, the new housekeeper the station's crew had hired through the interstellar labor exchange. She'd arrived just 2 days ago, a Zenari alien known for their efficiency and odd customs, but nothing in her job description explained why she was on top of him in his own bed. Kalia tilted her head, her tendrils quivering slightly. "Your life support suit. It malfunctioned during the night. I detected the failure and intervened." Jack's confusion deepened. He glanced down and saw his suit, the thin, flexible layer he wore even while sleeping to regulate oxygen in the station's finicky atmosphere, partially unzipped. Kalia's 2 upper hands held tiny tools, while her lower pair pressed against his chest, steadying her as she worked. A faint blue glow pulsed from her fingertips, weaving into the suit's circuits. "You're fixing it?" Jack asked, his voice steadying as curiosity overtook his shock. "While I'm still in it?" "Yes," Kalia replied simply. "Removing it would have risked your oxygen levels dropping. The station's air filters spiked with carbon residue last night. I acted quickly." Jack exhaled, letting the tension drain from his shoulders. He wasn't under attack. He wasn't in danger. At least, not anymore. Still, the absurdity of waking up to an alien housekeeper tinkering with his suit while perched on him was enough to make his head spin. He shifted slightly, and Kalia gracefully slid off, landing on the floor with a soft thud. She stood, all 4 arms folding neatly behind her back, her silver skin catching the light like liquid metal. "Thanks, I guess," Jack said, sitting up and running a hand through his messy brown hair. "But next time, maybe wake me up first. Humans don't usually sleep through." Whatever this was. Kalia's tendrils twitched again, a gesture Jack would later learn meant she was thinking. "I considered waking you, but your breathing patterns suggested deep rest. Disturbing you seemed inefficient when I could resolve the issue silently." Jack chuckled despite himself. "Efficient, huh? Well, you've got my attention now. What happened to the air filters?" "A minor surge in the filtration system," Kalia explained, her golden eyes narrowing slightly. "I repaired it before coming here, but your suit's backup failed simultaneously. Curious timing." "Curious." Jack raised an eyebrow. He swung his legs over the bunk's edge, testing the suit's fit. It hummed faintly, back online thanks to Kalia's quick work. "Sounds more like a coincidence. Orion 7's old. Stuff breaks all the time." "Perhaps," Kalia said, though her tone carried a hint of doubt. She stepped toward the small desk in Jack's quarters, where a datapad blinked with station diagnostics. "I will investigate further. My role is to maintain order and safety for the crew. Your survival is priority." Jack studied her, intrigued by the way she spoke. The Zenari were known for their precision, robotic, almost. But there was something else in Kalia's voice, a flicker of curiosity, maybe even care. He'd hired her through the exchange because her species excelled at multitasking and problem-solving, traits perfect for a station always one glitch away from chaos. But this was beyond the job description. Priority, huh? Jack stood, stretching his stiff muscles. Well, I appreciate it. You're already proving your worth around here. Kalia's tendrils perked up, and a faint shimmer ran across her skin, her version of a smile. Jack guessed. I am designed to adapt and assist. Your species fascinates me, Jack Carter. Humans endure where others falter. I wish to learn why. Jack grinned, a spark of pride igniting in his chest. Stick around, Kalia. You'll see plenty of that. We don't give up easy. The day unfolded with a strange normalcy after that bizarre morning. Jack returned to his usual routine, checking the station's power grid, patching a leaky coolant pipe, bantering with the crew over stale coffee in the mess hall. Kalia shadowed him quietly at first, her 4 arms making quick work of spilled tools or tangled wires. The crew, a ragtag mix of humans and a few aliens, eyed her with curiosity, but kept their distance. Newcomers always took time to fit in on Orion 7. By midday, Jack found himself warming to her presence. She didn't just clean or fix things, she observed, asked questions, and offered solutions he hadn't considered. When a power relay flickered, threatening to dim half the station, Kalia suggested rerouting the current through an unused conduit. It worked flawlessly, earning her a nod of approval from Jack and a grudging nice one from Riley, the station's gruff mechanic. You're full of surprises, Jack said as they walked back to his quarters that evening. The station's corridors hummed with the low thrum of machinery, a sound as familiar to him as his own heartbeat. I am built to adapt, Kalia replied, her tendrils swaying gently. But I sense there is more to this station than routine malfunctions. The air filter surge, your suit's failure, both occurred within minutes. I do not believe in coincidences. Jack paused, her words sinking in. He brushed it off earlier, but now doubt crept into his mind. Orion 7 was old, sure, but 2 systems failing at once. That wasn't normal. He glanced at Kalia, her golden eyes steady and searching. You think something's up? He asked, lowering his voice. I think we should investigate, she said firmly. Together. Jack nodded, a slow grin spreading across his face. All right, Kalia. Let's figure this out. You and me. As they stood there, the station's lights flickered briefly, a warning, perhaps, of what was to come. Jack didn't know it yet, but that moment marked the beginning of something bigger, a test of human grit, alien ingenuity, and a partnership that would push them both beyond the stars. Jack Carter stood in the dimly lit control room of Orion 7, the faint hum of the station's systems buzzing in his ears. Beside him, Kalia's silver skin glimmered under the flickering overhead lights, her 4 hands deftly tapping at a console. The datapad she'd pulled from his quarters glowed with a stream of diagnostics, numbers, and graphs scrolling too fast for Jack to follow. But Kalia's golden eyes tracked every detail, her tendrils twitching as she processed the information. See anything yet? Jack asked, leaning against the console. His fingers itched to do something. Fix a wire, tighten a bolt. But this was beyond his usual hands-on approach. Whatever had caused the air filter surge, and his suit's failure wasn't a loose screw he could wrench back into place. Kalia didn't answer right away. Her upper left hand adjusted a dial while her lower right hand typed a command. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady, but laced with something Jack couldn't quite place. Worry, maybe. There's a signal. Faint, but consistent. It's interfering with the station's core systems. A signal. Jack straightened, his engineer's mind kicking into gear, like a glitch in the comms array. No, Kalia said, turning to face him. It's external. Coming from outside Orion 7. I detected it when I cross-checked the filter logs with your suit's diagnostic history. It's subtle, but it's there. Jack frowned, rubbing the stubble on his chin. So you're saying something out there is messing with us? On purpose? I cannot confirm intent, Kelia replied, her tendrils quivering slightly. But the pattern suggests it's not random. We need to trace it. Jack nodded, already moving toward the control room's main terminal. All right, let's narrow it down. If it's external, it's either a ship, a satellite, or some kind of space junk bouncing waves at us. Can you boost the sensors? Kalia's hands flew across the console, her forearms working in perfect sync. I'll recalibrate the array. It will take time, but I can amplify the signal's origin point. As she worked, Jack couldn't help but marvel at her efficiency. Humans had their grit, their knack for pushing through impossible odds, but Kalia brought something else. Precision, speed, a mind that seemed to see problems from angles he'd never considered. Together, they might just crack this mystery. The control room door slid open with a hiss, and Riley stomped in, her boots clanging against the metal floor. The station's mechanic was a stocky woman with a permanent scowl, her arms crossed over her grease-stained jumpsuit. What's going on, Carter? Lights are flickering again, and the crew's getting antsy. We're working on it, Jack said, keeping his tone even. Kalia found a signal jamming the systems. Might be why stuff's been breaking. Riley's eyes narrowed as they landed on Kalia. Convenient she shows up and everything goes haywire. Kalia paused, her tendrils stilling. I assure you, I am not the cause. I am here to assist. Yeah, well, you're the new variable, Riley shot back. Zenari or not, I don't trust aliens poking around our tech. Jack stepped between them, holding up a hand. Easy, Riley. She saved my life this morning. Fixed my suit when it crapped out. Give her a chance. Riley grunted, but her glare softened slightly. Fine, but if this goes south, it's on you, Carter. As she stormed out, Jack turned to Kalia. Don't mind her. She's just protective of the station. Been here longer than most of us. I understand, Kalia said, resuming her work. Trust is earned. I will prove my value. Jack grinned. You already are. Let's find that signal. Hours passed as they dug into the data. The crew went about their duties, casting curious glances through the control room's window, but Jack and Kalia stayed focused. By late afternoon, Kalia's recalibration paid off. The terminal beeped, and a holographic map of the surrounding space flickered to life. A pulsing red dot appeared, drifting just beyond the station's orbit. There, Kalia said, pointing with one of her upper hands. The signal's source, approximately 200 kilometers out. Jack squinted at the map. That's too far for debris, too steady for a natural pulse. What the hell is it? I cannot determine its nature from here, Kalia admitted. We need a closer look. Jack's mind raced. Orion 7 had a small shuttle, barely more than a pod with thrusters, but it could get them out there. The idea of leaving the station to chase an unknown signal sent a thrill through him, the kind he hadn't felt since his early days as an engineer. You up for a ride? He asked, glancing at Kalia. Her tendrils perked up. I am designed for adaptability. Exploring with you would be illuminating. Then it settled, Jack said, grabbing his toolkit from a nearby locker. We'll take the shuttle, scope it out, and figure out how to stop it. I'll clear it with the captain. Captain Torres, a grizzled veteran with a cybernetic eye, didn't take much convincing. If it's screwing with my station, I want it gone, he growled over the comms. But don't do anything stupid, Carter. And keep an eye on that scenario. Got it, Jack replied, though he suspected Kalia would be the one keeping him in check. The shuttle bay was a cramped, cold space, its walls lined with spare parts and flickering lights. The pod itself was a dented relic, but Jack knew it inside and out. He climbed into the pilot's seat, gesturing for Kalia to strap in beside him. Her 4 arms made quick work of the harness, and she watched with keen interest as Jack powered up the engines. "You ever flown one of these?" he asked, flipping switches with practiced ease. "No," Kalia said, her eyes tracking his every move. "Zenari vessels rely on automated navigation. Your manual control is intriguing." Jack chuckled. "Intriguing's one word for it. Hold on tight." The shuttle lurched as it launched, the station's bay doors groaning open to reveal the endless black of space. Stars glittered like distant promises, and the faint outline of Orion 7 shrank behind them. Jack kept one eye on the controls and the other on the signal tracker, its red dot growing stronger as they closed the distance. Kalia leaned forward, her tendrils swaying. "The signal's frequency is increasing. It may be reacting to our approach." "Reacting?" Jack's grip tightened on the yoke. "You mean it knows we're coming?" "Possibly," Kalia said, her voice calm but firm. "We should prepare for variables." Before Jack could ask what she meant, the shuttle's sensors blared. A swarm of tiny objects appeared on the screen. Dozens, maybe hundreds, moving in a chaotic dance. They weren't ships or satellites. They were too small, too fast. "Drones," Jack realized, his stomach sinking. "What are those?" he muttered, slowing the shuttle to avoid a collision. Kalia's tendrils stiffened. "Unknown technology. But their pattern suggests coordination. They may be the source of the interference." Jack stared at the screen, his mind racing. Drones didn't just appear in deep space. Someone, or something, had sent them. And now they were buzzing around Orion 7 like flies on a carcass. He glanced at Kalia, her golden eyes reflecting the screen's glow. "Any ideas?" he asked, trusting her instincts as much as his own. She hesitated, then nodded. "We could disrupt their signal. If I modify the shuttle's comms array, I can emit a counter-frequency. It might disable them, or at least confuse them." Jack grinned, adrenaline pumping. "I like it. Let's give him a taste of human ingenuity." Kalia set to work, her 4 hands tearing into the shuttle's wiring with surgical precision. Jack kept the pod steady, dodging the occasional drone that veered too close. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he felt alive, focused, determined, the way he always did when a problem needed solving. "Almost ready," Kalia said, her voice cutting through the tension. "On your mark." Jack took a deep breath, his finger hovering over the comms trigger. Now. A pulse of static erupted from the shuttle, invisible but powerful. The drones faltered, their erratic dance slowing. Some drifted aimlessly, while others collided in tiny bursts of sparks. Jack whooped, punching the air. "That's it. We've got it." But Kalia's tendrils didn't relax. "The signal persists," she said, pointing to the tracker. "We've weakened them, but the source is still active. We need to find it." Jack's excitement faded into resolve. "Then we keep going. Together." The shuttle drifted deeper into the void, the drones parting like a reluctant curtain. Whatever was out there, Jack knew they'd face it as a team. Human grit and alien brilliance side by side. The station's fate, and maybe more, hung in the balance. The shuttle's engines hummed as Jack Carter guided it through the scattered remains of the drone swarm. The tiny machines floated lifelessly now, their metallic husks glinting in the shuttle's headlights like broken toys. Kalia's counter-frequency had done its job, scrambling their coordination, but the red dot on the signal tracker still pulsed stubbornly. Whatever was controlling them was out there, hidden in the vast emptiness beyond Orion 7, and Jack wasn't about to turn back. "Distance to source?" Jack asked, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The shuttle's cramped cockpit felt smaller with every passing minute, the weight of the unknown pressing in from all sides. Kalia's golden eyes flicked to the tracker, her 4 hands adjusting the sensors with fluid precision. "Approximately 50 kilometers. The signal strength is increasing. We're close." "Good," Jack said, tightening his grip on the controls. Let's see what's pulling the strings. The void stretched out before them, a sea of black pierced by distant stars. Jack had always found space beautiful in its quiet menace, endless, unforgiving, but full of possibilities. Now, though, it felt alive, watching them. The shuttle scanners beeped intermittently, picking up faint energy signatures that danced just beyond their reach. Kalia's tendrils twitched, her silver skin shimmering as she leaned closer to the console. "Energy readings are inconsistent," she said, her voice tinged with curiosity. "They fluctuate like a heartbeat. Organic, almost. Organic." Jack shot her a sidelong glance. "You think this thing's alive?" "Not necessarily," Kalia replied, her lower hands tapping out a rhythm on the controls. "But it mimics life. A machine with intent, perhaps. My species has encountered such technology before, relics of older races. They adapt. They learn." Jack's mind churned. A smart machine. That was worse than drones. Drones were predictable, easy to outsmart. Something that could think, though. That was a fight he wasn't sure they were ready for. Still, he'd faced worse odds with less. He squared his shoulders, a spark of defiance lighting up his chest. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. We always do." Kalia's tendrils perked up, catching his tone. "Your confidence is inspiring. Humans thrive on challenge." "Dan right," Jack grinned. "Let's give it something to chew on." The shuttle jolted suddenly, a sharp tremor rattling the hull. Jack cursed under his breath, steadying the controls as warning lights flashed across the dashboard. What was that? Kalia's hands flew across the console, her tendrils stiff with focus. A gravitational pulse. "The source is emitting waves, irregular, but strong. It's pulling us in." Pulling us. Jack's jaw tightened. He punched the thrusters, fighting the invisible tug. The shuttle groaned, resisting, but the red dot loomed larger on the tracker. "Can we break free?" "Not easily," Kalia said, her voice calm but urgent. "The pulse is targeted. It's reacting to us." Jack's pulse quickened. Reacting, just like the drones had. This wasn't random interference anymore. It was personal. He glanced at Kalia, her golden eyes meeting his with unspoken understanding. They weren't just chasing a signal now. They were being hunted. "Options?" he asked, trusting her to think 3 steps ahead while he kept them flying. Kalia hesitated, then nodded. "We can ride the pulse. Use its momentum to get closer. If we resist, it may overwhelm the shuttle systems." "Ride it." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that?" "No," Kalia admitted, a faint shimmer rippling across her skin. "But it's our best chance to confront the source directly. I can shield the shuttle with a dampening field, limit the pulse's effect on our tech." Jack weighed the risk. Charging headfirst into danger wasn't his usual style. He preferred a plan, a workaround. But Kalia's logic made sense, and time wasn't on their side. Orion 7 couldn't handle more disruptions. He took a deep breath, decision made. "Do it. I'll keep us steady." Kalia's 4 arms moved in a blur, rerouting power to the shuttle's comms array. A low hum filled the cockpit as the dampening field flickered to life, wrapping the pod in a faint blue haze. Jack eased off the thrusters, letting the gravitational pulse take hold. The shuttle lurched forward, accelerating toward the signal's heart. Through the viewport, a shape emerged from the darkness. A jagged metallic sphere, its surface studded with glowing nodes. It hung in space like a forgotten moon, dwarfing the shuttle as they drew near. Drones buzzed around it, fewer now, but still active, their red lights pulsing in sync with the sphere's nodes. "That's it," Jack muttered, awe and dread mixing in his gut. "The puppet master." Kalia's tendrils quivered. "It's a control hub. Ancient design, but operational. The drones are its extensions. It's been prodding Orion 7, testing its defenses." "Testing." Jack's hands tightened on the yoke. "For what?" "I don't know," Kalia said, her voice softening. "But it sees us now. We need a plan. Jack's mind raced. They couldn't outrun it, and the shuttle's measly laser wouldn't dent that thing. But humans didn't survive by running. They survived by thinking, adapting, fighting smarter. He glanced at the console, then at Kalia. You said it's smart, right? What if we outsmart it? Kalia tilted her head, intrigued. Explain. It's sending signals to the drones, Jack said, piecing it together as he spoke. What if we send one back? Overload it with jump data, confuse it long enough to get inside its range and shut it down. Kalia's eyes widened, her tendrils flaring. A feedback loop. Yes, it could work. I'll amplify the shuttle's transmitter, flood its network with noise. But we'll need to get closer. How close? Jack asked, already nudging the shuttle forward. Within 500 meters, Kalia replied, her hands prepping the transmitter. Any farther, and the signal won't penetrate. Jack swallowed hard. 500 meters from a hostile alien machine wasn't his idea of a safe workday, but he'd come too far to back out. Hold on, he said, pushing the shuttle into a tight arc. The gravitational pulse yanked harder, but the dampening field held, keeping their systems intact. The sphere loomed larger, its nodes flaring as they approached. Drones swarmed toward them, faster now, their red lights glaring like angry eyes. Jack swerved, dodging a cluster that shot past the viewport in a blur. They're not happy, he grunted. They're defending, Kalia said, her voice steady as she finalized the transmitter. Ready. On your mark. Jack lined up the shuttle, the sphere filling the viewport. Now. Kalia triggered the signal, a screeching burst of static and garbled code. The sphere's nodes flickered, then spat, red lights stuttering across its surface. The drones froze mid-flight, some spinning aimlessly, others crashing into each other. Jack whooped, adrenaline surging. It's working. But the victory was short-lived. The sphere pulsed again, stronger this time, and the shuttle rocked violently. Alarms blared as the dampening field wavered, sparks flying from the console. Kalia gripped her seat, her tendrils rigid. It's adapting. The feedback slowed it, but it's fighting back. Jack cursed, wrestling the controls. We need to hit it harder. Can you boost the signal? Not without risking the shuttle's power core, Kalia warned. It could leave us stranded. Jack's jaw clenched. Stranded was better than dead. And Orion 7 was counting on them. Do it. I'll get us in close enough to make it count. Kalia hesitated, then nodded. Her hands dove into the console's wiring, rerouting energy with a speed that left Jack in awe. The shuttle shuddered as power surged into the transmitter, the cockpit lights dimming. Ready, she said, her voice tight. Jack pushed the thrusters to their limit, closing the gap to 300 meters. The sphere's nodes flared wildly, its drones spiraling out of control. Now, he shouted. The second signal hit like a thunderclap. The sphere convulsed, its surface cracking as red lights winked out one by one. The drones dropped, lifeless, tumbling into the void. For a moment, silence reigned. Then the shuttle's engines sputtered, the power core faltering. We're drifting, Jack said, checking the gauges. But it's down. We did it. Kalia's tendrils relaxed slightly, her skin shimmering with relief. The hub is disabled. Orion 7 should stabilize. Jack exhaled, leaning back in his seat. The sphere floated ahead, a broken shell, its threat extinguished. But questions lingered. Why had it targeted them? What was it after? He glanced at Kalia, her golden eyes meeting his with quiet strength. We make a good team, he said, a tired grin tugging at his lips. Yes, Kalia replied, her tendrils swaying gently. Your determination, my adaptability. We complement each other. Jack nodded, the weight of their victory sinking in. They'd faced the void and won, not just for themselves, but for the station. As the shuttle drifted, powerless but intact, he felt a surge of pride, not just in himself, but in what they'd built together, human and alien, side by side, unstoppable. The shuttle hung silently in the void, its engines dark and lifeless after the final surge that had crippled the alien sphere. Jack Carter sat in the pilot's seat, staring out at the shattered remains of their foe. The jagged metal husk floated like a graveyard monument, its glowing nodes extinguished, its drones scattered into the endless black. Beside him, Kalia's silver skin shimmered faintly in the dim cockpit light, her 4 hands resting on the console as she monitored the shuttle's dwindling systems. "We're not moving anytime soon," Jack said, tapping the lifeless controls. The power core had given everything to that last signal burst, leaving them adrift but victorious. "Hope you're not in a hurry to hit back." Kalia's tendrils swayed gently, her golden eyes calm. "The station is safe. That is what matters. We can wait." Jack nodded, leaning back in his seat. The adrenaline of the fight was fading, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. They'd done it, stopped the threat, protected Orion 7, and proved something in the process. He glanced at Kalia, her steady presence grounding him. "You know, for a housekeeper, you're pretty handy in a crisis." Her skin shimmered brighter, a sign Jack had come to recognize as amusement. "My role is to assist." This was an extension of that duty, but I could not have succeeded without you, Jack Carter. "Team effort," Jack said, grinning. "Human stubbornness, Zaneri smarts. Not a bad combo." Before Kalia could reply, the comms crackled to life, static cutting through the silence. "Carter, you there?" Captain Torres' gruff voice boomed over the line. "Sensors show that thing's dead. What the hell did you do?" "Blew its mind," Jack quipped, leaning toward the mic. Kalia rigged a signal to fry it. "We're drifting out here, though. Core's toast. Might need a tow." Torres grunted, a sound that might have been approval. "Figures you'd break something to fix something. Sit tight. Riley's prepping the salvage rig. And Carter, good work. Both of you." The comms clicked off, leaving Jack and Kalia in the quiet again. He turned to her, raising an eyebrow. "Guess we're heroes now." "Heroes," Kalia repeated, her tendrils tilting thoughtfully. "A human concept. My people value contribution over recognition. But I find it appealing." Jack chuckled. "Stick around humans long enough, you'll get used to it." The wait wasn't long. Within an hour, the salvage rig, a clunky, patched-up vessel, loomed into view, its grappling arms latching onto the shuttle with a jolt. Riley's voice crackled through the comms, gruff but less hostile than before. "Hold on, hotshot. Dragging you back to the barn." As the rig towed them toward Orion 7, Jack watched the station grow larger through the viewport. Its dented hull and flickering lights had never looked so welcoming. The crew would have questions, plenty of them, but for now, he let himself savor the win. Beside him, Kalia sat in silence, her tendrils swaying as if lost in thought. "What's on your mind?" Jack asked, breaking the quiet. Kalia turned to him, her golden eyes steady. "I came to Orion 7 to learn. My people sent me to observe humans, to understand your strength. Today, I saw it. You faced the unknown with courage, not just for survival, but for others. It is remarkable." Jack blinked, caught off guard by the weight of her words. "You're giving us too much credit. We're just too dumb to quit." "No," Kalia said firmly, her tendrils stilling. "It is not foolishness. It is purpose. I felt it when we fought the hub. Your resolve strengthened mine. That is why I stayed on top of you that first morning, not just to fix your suit, but to understand you, to connect." Jack's grin faded into something softer. "So that's your reason. Studying me like some lab rat." "Not a rat," Kalia corrected, her skin shimmering with warmth. "A partner. My species bonds through shared effort. Fixing your suit was my instinct, yes, but it became more. I saw your potential then, and I see it now." Jack didn't know what to say. He'd hired Kalia expecting a housekeeper, Not a companion who'd fight beside him against alien threats. But here they were, tethered by something deeper than a job contract. He rubbed the back of his neck, a habit when words failed him. "Well, I'm glad you stuck around. Saved my ass more than once." The shuttle jolted as the rig docked, the bay doors of Orion 7 sliding open to swallow them whole. The crew was waiting when they stepped out, Captain Torres, Riley, and a dozen others, their faces a mix of relief and curiosity. Riley crossed her arms, eyeing Kalia with grudging respect. "Heard you cooked that thing's circuits." "Not bad, alien." Kalia's tendrils perked up. "Thank you." Jack's strategy was key. "Strategy, huh?" Torres said, his cybernetic eye glinting. "Carter, you're lucky she's got your back. Now, someone tell me what that Dan sphere was." Jack shrugged, glancing at Kalia. "Old tech, maybe. Kalia thinks it was testing us, poking the station to see how we'd react." "Testing?" Riley frowned. "For what?" "No idea," Jack admitted. "But it's dead now. We'll strip it for parts, figure out the rest later." Torres nodded, satisfied for the moment. "Fine. Get some rest. Then get to work. Station's a mess after all this." As the crew dispersed, Jack and Kalia lingered in the bay. The shuttle sat behind them, battered but intact, a testament to their fight. Jack turned to her, hands in his pockets. "So, what's next for you? More human lessons?" Kalia's eyes gleamed. "Yes, but also, more with you. My people will want a report, but I wish to stay. There is much to explore, here, with Orion 7, with humans." Jack felt a warmth spread through him, unexpected but welcome. "Good. We could use you. Station's falling apart half the time, and I'm not bad company, right?" "You are excellent company," Kalia said, her tendrils swaying playfully. "And I suspect our adventures are not over." She was right. The next few weeks proved it. With the sphere hauled into the station's cargo hold, Jack and Kalia led the effort to dismantle it. Its tech was strange, circuits that pulsed like veins, processors that hummed with faint energy even when disconnected. Riley pitched in, her skepticism fading as Kalia's knowledge filled gaps in their understanding. Together, they salvaged enough to upgrade Orion 7 systems, stronger shields, better sensors, a power grid that didn't flicker every other day. The crew noticed the change. Grumbles turned to grins, and Kalia went from outsider to one of them. She learned human habits, coffee runs with Riley, card games with Torres, while teaching them Zeneri tricks, like how to weave microfilaments into hole patches. Jack watched it all with a quiet pride, amazed at how she'd woven herself into their ragged little family. One evening, as they sat in the mess hall over a plate of synth steak, Jack asked the question that had been nagging him. "You said you came to learn. What's the biggest thing you figured out about us?" Kalia chewed thoughtfully, a human habit she'd picked up, then set her fork down. "That you create. Not just machines or solutions, but bonds. Futures. You turn chaos into meaning. It's why I stayed." Jack leaned back, letting her words sink in. "Guess we're not so different. You're building something here too, with us." "Yes," Kalia said, her skin glowing softly. "A new horizon. For both our kinds." The station hummed around them, alive with possibility. The sphere was gone, but its shadow lingered, a reminder that the galaxy held more mysteries, more challenges. Jack didn't mind. With Kalia by his side, he felt ready for anything. Human resilience, alien ingenuity. They'd faced the void and come out stronger. And somewhere out there, beyond Orion 7's walls, the next adventure waited.